Peace and love to my elite and late ones. Welcome to part 2, The Universal Father Revealed. I thank you for watching part 1. Like I told you, I'm going to leave you, especially with part 2, especially this evening, I'm going to leave you with a better understanding on who the Supreme Father is, the Universal Father is. For those who watched part 1, thank you for the watch, thank you for the view, thank you for the likes, thank you for the comments. Now part 2 is going to be what I like to call the icing on the cake. For my Christians and non-Christians, for my religious and non-religious people. 2-part videos have given you a better understanding to your connection to the Supreme Source, the Supreme Father, the Universal Father. And I hope you are starting to understand with your own wisdom and your own research that the God that was portrayed in the Holy Bible was nothing more than a subordinate deity, a demiurge. Look these words up. For the ones who are really spiritual seekers, for the ones who really want to go in on the gnosis and do their research, then you should know or already know about the Enuma Elish. And that predated the Holy Bible. And once you read the Enuma Elish, you will see everything you need to know about who you call God in the Bible and his predecessors. But once again, this is part 2 of the Universal Father Revealed. So, you know the book. Get familiar with it. You better believe it. You can order it. Might be in Barnes and Nobles, but definitely order it. I'm going to start where I left off in part 1. Because part 2 is going to be amazing. This is, for my scholars, you're going to love this. And for my God-loving, not God-fearing, why would you even fear God? It'd be like fearing yourself in more ways than one. But I'm about to get comfortable, family. Surrounded by beautiful plants all around me. Give you a quick view. Beautiful plants all around me. There you go. So Mother Nature is on my side. So let's get ready for part 2. And we left off with God as a universal spirit. God is spirit. He is a universal spiritual presence. The universal Father is an infinite spiritual reality. He is the sovereign, eternal, immortal, invisible, and only true God. Even though you are the offspring of God, you ought not to think that the Father is like yourself in form and physique, because you are said to be created in his image, indwelt by mystery monitors, dispatched from the central abode of his eternal presence. Spirit beings are real, notwithstanding that they are invisible to human eyes, even though they have not flesh and blood. Y'all ready to go in? Let's go. Said the seer of old, and I quote, "Lo, he goes by me, and I see him not. He passes on also, but I perceive him not." See, we may constantly observe the works of God. We may be highly conscious of the material evidence of his majestic conduct, but rarely may we gaze upon the visible manifestation of his divinity, not even to behold the presence of his delegated spirit of human indwelling. Listen up. The universal Father is not invisible because he is hiding himself away from the lowly creatures of materialistic handicaps and limited spiritual endowments. The situation rather is, you cannot see my face, for no mortal can see me and live. Quote, end quote. You cannot see my face, for no mortal can see me and live. No material man could behold the Spirit God and preserve his mortal existence. The glory and the spiritual brilliance of the divine personality presence is impossible of approach by the lower groups of the spirit beings or by any order of the material personalities. And I'm going to stop right there. You know you have a soul. Your soul, your very existence comes from higher spheres, comes from higher realms. I need you to get this through your head. We have been cast into the lowest forms as souls. We have been cast into this lowest form of existence called earth. You have put souls now in physical vessels, sleeves, whatever you want to call it, bodies. I'm going to read that again. Got a little bit of time today. The universal Father is not invisible because he is hiding himself away from the lowly creatures of materialistic handicaps and limited spiritual endowments. The situation, rather, is, and I quote, "You cannot see my face, for no mortal can see me and live." No mortal man could behold the Spirit God and preserve his mortal existence. The glory and the spiritual brilliance of the divine personality presence is impossible of approach by the lower groups of spirit beings or by any order of material personalities. The spiritual luminosity of the Father's personal presence is a, and I quote, light which no mortal can approach, which no material creature has seen or can see. But it is not necessary to see God with the eyes of the flesh in order to discern him by the faith vision of spiritualized mind. The spirit nature of the universal Father is shared fully with his coexistent self, the eternal Son of Paradise. Both the Father and Son in like manner share the universal and eternal spirit. Let me read that again so it goes together. The spiritual nature of the universal Father is shared fully with his coexistent self, the eternal Son of Paradise. Both the Father and the Son is like manner share the universe and eternal spirit fully and unreservedly with their conjoint personality coordinate. The infinite spirit, God's spirit, is in and of himself absolute. In the Son, it is unqualified. In the Spirit, universal. And in all, and by all of them, infinite. God is a universal spirit. God is the universal person. The supreme personal reality of the finite creation is spirit. The ultimate reality of the personal cosmos is absolute spirit. Only the levels of infinity are absolute, and only such levels is there finality of oneness between matter, mind, and spirit. In the universes, God the Father is, in potential, the over-controller of matter, mind, and spirit. Only by means of his far-flung personality circuit does God deal directly with the personalities of his vast creations of will creatures. But he is contactable outside of paradise, only in the presence of his fragmented entities. The will of God abroad in the universes. This paradise spirit that indwells in the minds of the mortals of time and there fosters the evolution of the immortal soul of the surviving creature is of the nature and divinity of the universal Father. But the minds of such evolutionary creatures originate in the local universes and must gain divine perfection by achieving those experimental transformation of spiritual attainment which are the inevitable result of a creature's choosing to do the will of the Father in heaven. Are y'all right? Y'all there? Everybody good? My folks? In the inner experience of man, mind is joined to matter. In the inner experience of man, mind is joined to matter. Such material linked minds cannot survive mortal death. The technique of survival is embraced in those adjustments of the human will and those transformation in the mortal mind whereby such a God conscious intellect gradually becomes spirit taught and eventually spirit led. Welcome to the Age of Aquarius. I'm going to read that one more time. In the inner experience of man, mind is joined to matter. Such material linked minds cannot survive mortal death. The technique of survival is embraced in those adjustments of the human will and those transformations in the mortal mind whereby such a God-conscious intellect gradually becomes spirit-taught and eventually spirit-led. This evolution of the human mind from matter association to spirit union results in the transmutation, one of my favorite words, of the potentially spirit phase of the mortal mind into the Montria, that's Morontia, pretty much another word for spirit. This evolution of the human mind from matter association to spirit union results in the transmutation of the potentially spirit phases of the mortal mind into the Montria realities of the of the immortal soul. Mortal mind subservient to matter is mortal mind subservient to matter is destined to become increasingly material and consequently to suffer eventually personality extinction. Mind yielded to spirit is destined to become increasingly spiritual and ultimately to achieve oneness with a surviving and guiding divine spirit, and in this way to attain survival and eternity of personality existence. Now I know I got some scholars out there listening to me right now. And even if these words feel like they over here or right here above you, don't listen with your logic. Listen with your soul. Listen with your spirit. Logic isn't always everything. Let's keep on going. I come forth from the eternal, and I have already repeatedly returned to the presence of the universal Father. It says, and I'm taking this as Melchizedek speaking. I come forth from the eternal, and I have repeatedly returned to the presence of the universal Father. I know of the actuality and personality of the first source and center. The eternal and universal Father. I'm going to read that again. I come forth from the eternal, and I have repeatedly returned to the presence of the universal Father. I know the actuality and personality of the first source and center, the eternal and universal Father. I know that while the great God is absolute, eternal, and infinite, He is also good, divine, and gracious. I know the truth of the great declarations, and I quote, God is spirit, and God is love. And these two attributes are most completely revealed to the universe and the eternal Son. Now we're going on to the mystery of God. Are y'all listening? Christ is here. Christ is within me, but most importantly, Christ has always been within you. The mystery of God. The infinity of the perfection of God is such that it internally constitutes Him mystery. And the greatest of all the unfathomable mysteries of God is the phenomenon of the divine indwelling of mortal minds. The manner in which the universal Father sojourns with the creatures of time is the most profound of all universe mysteries. The divine presence in the mind of man is the mystery of mysteries. All my church folks out there, y'all all right? It's a big storm about to brew. The wind is blowing amazing, and Mother Nature is blessing me to bless you. Listen to my church folk out there. I need you to really listen. To my theologists, I want you to really get this. Listen to this work right here that I'm about to say. The physical bodies, are y'all listening? The physical bodies of mortals are, and I quote, the temples of God. The physical bodies of mortals are the temples of God, notwithstanding that the sovereign Creator's sons, plural, more than one, come near the creatures of their inhabited worlds and, quote, draw all men to themselves, though they, and I quote again, stand at the door of consciousness and knock, end quote, and delight to come into all who will open the doors of their hearts. Although there does exist the intimate personal communion between the Creator's sons and their mortal creatures, nevertheless, mortal men have something from God Himself, which actually dwells within them. Their bodies are the temples thereof. As the rain comes down, I'm taking my time because I just want you to listen to what I just said. A lot of you have heard this before, but yet you still go to the churches, yet you still are, after decades and decades of going to churches, have not learned nothing from the Adam and Eve, from the Noah, from the Abraham stories, from the Job stories, from the Virgin Mary stories. You guys have heard nothing outside of that, and it doesn't bother you. You get older, you meet people, you meet your mate, and it's based off of your religion. Your life is based off of what you learn in church. Your sexual relationships are based on what you learn off in church. And they lie to you. You don't even have the whole story. You got ladies out there confused about that sexual energy. She likes women. She likes men. She feels like she cursed because she can't go to the churches. But only if she knew her divine energy. Only if she knew the goddesses like Isis. If she knew the goddess like Ayana. Sophia, the mother of Yahweh. Only if she knew her magic, the power of the menstrual cycle, the menstrual blood. This is everything that your church has told you not to bother with. I'm going to say this again. The physical bodies of mortals are, and I quote, the temples of God, notwithstanding that they sovereign Creator's sons come near the creatures, notwithstanding that the sovereign Creator's sons come near the creatures of their inhabited worlds and draw all men to themselves, though they stand at the door of consciousness and knock, and delight to come in to all who will open the doors of their hearts. Although there does exist the intimate personal communion between the Creator's sons and their mortal creatures, nevertheless, mortal men have something from God Himself. Listen, you have something from God Himself, which actually dwells within them. Their bodies are the temples thereof. Now you can stop this right now and go outside and rejoice off of what I said. You can go outside right now. Joyful, joyful, we adore Thee. When you are through down here, listen. When you are through down here, my mortals, my flesh dwelling, blood carrying fellow mortals, when you are done, when you are through down here, when your course has been run in temporary form on earth, because it will, I don't care how many vaccinations we get. I don't care how many vaccinations you shall get. America, the world. When you are through down here, when your course has been run in temporary form on earth, when your trial trip in the flesh is finished, When the dust that composes the mortal tabernacle, and I quote, returns to the earth whence it came, then it is revealed the indwelling spirit shall return to God who gave it, and parcel of divinity. Listen, it is not yet yours. This is the part that kind of gets emotional. That's why I'm stretching my hand out. I'm going to read that whole thing again. Close your eyes if you can and listen to what I'm saying. Close them as I read. When you are through down here, when your course has been run in temporary form on earth, when your trial trip in the flesh is finished, when the dust that composes the mortal tabernacle returns to earth whence it came, I got the wrong glasses on today. It is revealed the indwelling spirit shall return to God who gave it. There sojourns with each moral being of this planet a fragment of God, a part and parcel of divinity. It is not yet yours by right of possession, but it is designedly intended to be one with you if you survive the mortal existence. Family, I know you listen. I know about trials and tribulations. I still go through them. You see me high in my gnosis. But trust me, when you get higher into your vibrations and frequencies, it's not going to be, oh. Because once you know, as Christ said in the Gnostics, once you found out the truth, you will be disturbed. But don't be troubled, because all that great disturbance will become beauty. And I'm paraphrasing. You gotta go through the hard times. You gotta go through the trials and tribulations and bullshit. You are a higher being that was brought to a low realm. I need you to get that through your thick skull. I need you to get that through your head of yours. You are not from this place. You are of this place, but you are not from it. We are constantly confronted with the mystery of God. We are now impulsed by the increasing unfolding of the endless panorama of the truth of His infinite goodness, endless mercy, matchless wisdom, and superb character. The divine mystery consists in the inherent differences which exist between the finite and the infinite, the temporal and the eternal, the time-space creature and the universal creator, the material and the spiritual, the imperfection of man and the perfection of paradise deity. The God of universal love unfailingly manifests Himself to every one of His creatures up to the fullness of that creature's capacity to spiritual grasp the qualities of divine truth, beauty, and goodness. To every spirit being and to every mortal creature and every spirit on every world of the universe of universes, the universal Father reveals all of His gracious and divine self that can be discerned or comprehended by such spirit beings and by such mortal creatures. God is no respecter of persons, either spiritual or material. The divine presence which any child of the universe enjoys at any given moment is limited only by the capacity of such a creature to receive and to discern the spirit of actuality of the supermaterial world. As a reality in human spiritual experience, God is not a mystery. But when an attempt is made to make plain the realities of the spirit world to the physical minds of the material order, mystery appears. Mysteries is subtle and so profound that only the faith grasp of the God-knowing mortal can achieve the philosophic miracle of the recognition of the infinite by the finite, the discernment of the eternal God by the evolving mortals of the material worlds of time and space. I'll give you a little more. Personality of the universal Father. And I'm going to stop at about round 29. Do not permit the magnitude of God. Do not permit the magnitude of God, his infinity, either to obscure or eclipse his personality. And I quote, he who planned the ear, shall he not hear? He who formed the eye, shall he not see? The universal Father is the acme of divine personality. He is the origin and destiny of personality throughout all creation. God is both infinite and personal. He is an infinite personality. The Father is truly a personality, notwithstanding that the infinity of his person places him forever beyond the full comprehension of material infinite beings. God is much more than a personality, as personality is understood by the human mind. He is even far more than any possible concept of a super personality. But it is utterly futile to discuss such incomprehensible concepts of divine personality with the minds of material creatures, whose maximum concept of reality of being consists in the idea of personality. The material creature's highest possible concept of the universal creator is embraced within the spiritual ideas of the exalted idea of divine personality. Therefore, although you may know that God must be much more than the human conception of personality, you equally well know that the universal Father cannot possibly be anything less than an eternal, infinite, true God and beautiful personality. God is not hiding from any of his creatures. He is unapproachable to so many orders of beings only because he, and I quote, dwells in a light which no material creature can approach. The immensity and grandeur of the divine personality is beyond the grasp of the unperfected mind of evolutionary mortals. He, and I quote, measures the waters in the hollow of his hand, measures a universe with the span of his hand. It is he who sits on the circle of the earth, who stretches out the heavens as a curtain and spreads them out as a universe to dwell in. I quote, lift up your eyes on high and behold who has created all these things, who brings out their worlds by number and calls them all by their names. And so it is true that the invisible things of God are partially understood by the things which are made. Today as you are, you must discern the invisible maker through his manifold and diverse creations, as well as through the revelation and ministration of his sons and their numerous subordinates. Even though material mortals cannot see the person of God, they should rejoice in the assurance that he is a person. By faith accept the truth which portrays the universal Father so loved the world as to provide for eternal spiritual progression of its lowly inhabitants, that he delights in his children. God is lacking in none of those superhuman and divine attributes which constitutes a perfect, eternal, loving, and infinite creator personality. And I'm going to end there. And I'm going to end there, family. My next presentation, and I'm going to do another video about that, because I'm going to hang the spirituality up for a minute. I think we're looking at 97 videos so far. It's time to put a certain race on trial. In my next presentation, it is time to put a certain race on trial. In the world that we live in, we have seen so many races been tortured, been raped, been kicked out their own land and countries, have DNA strands robbed from them, organs taken out, all in the name of what? The satisfaction of this one race that will be put on trial. And I guarantee you, this presentation is either going to divide or it's going to bring into unity, which I know it will, all races. Everybody talks about Black Lives Matter and this and the third and unity to all races, but we cannot have unity as a humankind, as a human race, until this one particular race is put on trial. And I will be doing that with research, philosophy, and spiritual gnosis. I thank you for watching the Darius Corbin channel. We're just getting started. To my family, to my elite and light ones, know that you are greater, and know that you are put here to do greater things, for you are God, and in you God works. I love you all. Peace.